So you want to build an impression kit, more specifically a German impression kit. Let's talk about that. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Airsoft in CT, and today what we're going to be talking about is how to build a German impression kit. Now, impressions are all over the place. You can do any country, any time period, sort of like a reenactment. But the biggest thing that they all really centralize on is accuracy. You can have any sort of kit, you can throw any layer of Russian things on, you can throw any layer of German things on, but unless it's accurate to a specific time period and group, it's not really an impression kit. Now, one of the big things that you need to pick out first is your time period. Gear changes rapidly. Everything is developing, everything's changing, everything's new, technology is integrating, but you have to make sure you can centralize and focus on one specific time period. Otherwise, your gear is going to be all over the place. The next thing you have to think about is, what do I want to emulate? What do I want to pick out? So pick some reference photos that look kind of similar or that you can base your idea off of, and make a kit list based on that. Make sure you figure out, what pouches do I need? What plate carrier? What uniform are they running? It's not just a standard Flecktarn shirt, it's an EKB. You have to make sure that you're picking specific items. You can't just say anything Flecktarn, otherwise it's just kind of an inspired kit. When you're picking out those kinds of pieces, it's a really good idea to talk to people who either already have the kit or who are building it at the same time as you. Now, this can be part of specific groups. There's, again, a lot that goes on, but once you've picked your time period, once you know what you want to do, it's time to engage in some groups, whether that's Facebook groups, Instagram groups, eBay, find that really good seller, make connections with groups overseas of guys who have better access to that, especially if you're doing a foreign SF kit. But generally, you just want to involve yourself in the community. Now, for Milsim West, there's a whole bunch of different impression groups that go and make sure that their members have good, accurate impression kits. Rus 4 is typically dominated by Russians. There are, I'm sure, more groups, but none that I'm particularly aware of. That's not really my space. But NATO, there's a slew of them. Task Force Keg is new, up and coming. There's Gromitz, there's KVB that we're a part of, Task Force, Mongoose, all different kinds of groups. Task Force Mayhem is a huge one that does Ranger stuff. So talk to some of those group guys. Figure out who's in them, who are the leaders, and really kind of engage with them and figure out, what do I need? Because they're not only going to be able to be a valuable resource to you, but they'll help you build that kit more often than not. Now, a specific note on this, don't expect to be spoon-fed everything. This kind of information will be helped along by the group members or group leaders, but you want to make sure you're putting in enough effort on your own and doing your own research and seeing what you come up with. Team members and group members are a great resource for you, but you want to make sure that you're putting in that individual effort. Now, if you take a look at the impression space, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can go. One of the smaller groups, the groups that I'm a part of, is Schattengruppe. Schattengruppe is part of Kampfverband, which is the United States and kind of worldwide group, but Schattengruppe is in the northeast of the United States. Now, the vast majority of our members all have greenside kits, but our primary kit is the 2010 to 2013 KSK. Now, I'm gonna go over this in another video, separate video, but just to give you guys an idea, this one kit, when I started out completely on my own, took about 2.5 years to complete. This kit, 3 months, and that's not including the EKB or anything like that. There's a whole bunch of other items for that kit list that I was able to complete relatively quickly, and that's because of the connections I made. As I mentioned, reach out to us, reach out to KVB, reach out to Schattengruppe, because we're here building impression kits on our own, and we're always looking for new members. There's many places that you can find gear. However, I'm going to list to you some of my favorites. eBay.de, the German eBay, is one of the best places to find it. However, there's another offset of that called eBay Classifieds. That's eBay Kleinanzeigen, and you guys can definitely find tons of gear for super cheap from there. In fact, that's where I found the vast majority of my Luftlander kit. Some other groups that I'd recommend joining on Facebook are the German Bundeswehr Stuff Market. There's a ton of good finds on there. People are posting pretty much weekly. We're getting some good posts up there. So please join that to find some good items for sale and or to sell. There's German Impressions Group. That generally is not a buy and sell. That's a great inspiration place. A lot of information you can pull from that as well. A lot of guys overseas do this, so there's a small community in the United States, but we're all posting on there generally, so I definitely join that as well. And then there's some German groups, which I'm not going to butcher the names, but I'm going to link those down below as well. That's a great way to find tons of pouches, tons of information, tons of uniforms and things like that, either new or used, and that's how you can get the originals. Now, I'll add a caveat to all this. You can get reproduction items. There are makers like Roman Kermaz on Facebook or Ice Bear Tack on eBay who make reproduction gear. It's not my favorite. I started out with reproduction gear, and typically over time I realized it doesn't really look the part, and the quality is a little bit kind of off, especially when compared to genuine Linderhof Tactic stuff. So what I ended up doing was spending all this money getting reproduction items, and now over years I've been replacing that for originals. So you can get reproduction, it works, it functions, but especially nowadays while the stuff is still available, I'd get real items. You can find them, you can reach out to group members, and they'll help you source them if need be. Some of my favorite reproduction makers are Roman Kermaz on Facebook and Ice Bear Tack over in Hong Kong on eBay. You can find stuff from both of those guys. They're both very responsive and they make really good pieces of kit for reproductions. Again, it's not as top tier as the original, or not as Gucci as the original, I guess you could say, but it works for the kits. So finally, just to go over some of the specifics of German stuff, most of the gear, in fact 99% of the gear that you'll find, is Linderhof Tactic. Linderhof Tactic has been supplying the Bundeswehr and a lot of specialized groups for literally decades. So that kind of stuff is what you'll need to be looking for. Linderhof Tactic pouches, making sure it's era correct. Generally, you'll see little flap tags for some of the older stuff or orange tags for the modern stuff, and that's how you know it's going to be genuine Linderhof Tactic. Some of the uniforms, in fact most of the uniforms, are supplied by Schar. You can get Leo Kohler replicas that are decent, however they're not the original. So Schar, Watana, Future, all those kinds of things would be the things to look for when you're getting uniforms. And again, you have to make sure you're getting the specific uniform. Surplus stores have a huge amount of just the standard kind of jackets. This is an Einsatzkampf Blus. So this is the specific jacket for a lot of the modern special groups, and not particularly just standard army. So I would definitely keep an eye out, make sure you know what you're looking for, because there's a lot in surplus stores, a lot of specialized things you have to buy. So just make sure you have that distinction clear in your head. Now that was kind of an info dump. I had a lot to talk about there. In the terms of the German stuff, it's very specific to the group that you're doing. Again, generally gear, pouches, and things like that are going to be Linderhof Tactic, and uniforms are going to be Schar, but there are some variations there. So make sure you do your homework, do your research, because things vary. Again, especially in the modern sense, you're seeing more CPCs, JPCs, things like that. Some other specific Linderhof Tactic plate carriers that aren't readily available commercially just yet. Because especially with the German stuff, it's important to get it right, especially when there's not a lot of us out there. We want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward, especially in the impression community. Now, finally, one thing I wanted to talk about was the gun. This is a brand new project, which I have a video that's going to be coming out soon. If not, it has already come out. So I'd recommend checking it out, whether it's before or after. But this kind of gun is a G36K. Contrary to popular belief, 416s, it's typically a no-go in the Bundeswehr. G36Cs, not really either. G36Ks are the main gun that's going to be used, especially in modern era. So I definitely find a good platform. You can build it off of a G36C like I have, but all the accessories and things like that are going to be specific to the group, so make sure you do your homework with that as well. And look around. Some things you will have to buy overseas, especially if you get like the KSK sight rail or the H-key handguard, but typically you can find a lot of the base gun stuff here in the United States. Now, my rant is pretty much over. If you guys have any questions about specific kit things, please check out the videos that I've posted about them or reach out to me. My Instagram is @airsoft.in.ct. It'll be linked below. And also reach out to me in the YouTube comments. I'll be active in those as well. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that kind of gave you a little taste of impression kits in general, and then kind of some of the specific German stuff. But again, reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you guys out, and we'll see you in the next video.